I'm Bob and I'm back with more chess openings. So today I'm gonna go over the popular variations of the queen's pawn opening, which is d4. It's basically like e4, but instead it controls the e5 square and the c5 square. So black here has some choices. The most popular choice is just d5, just continuing. Now white here has also a few choices. White here can play c4. This is called the Queen's Gambit. Now I know it's sacrificing a pawn, but white didn't just give away a pawn for nothing. White here has four choices. You can play e3, attacking the pawn, and black here can play b5, protecting the pawn, but that's not very good because a4 is a strong move, and if black takes, then this c pawn is going down and white has a good center. So black here, well, I'm not really sure if he has any choices here, because if he plays a6 to reinforce the pawn, just takes, and black cannot take back because then white takes the rook. And if black here plays c6, then takes, and queen f3 wins a piece. The rook is now trapped, and black has to play knight c3 to prevent losing a rook. And after queen takes knight, check. Black here can save his rook by playing bishop d7, but white is up a knight and should win easily after just queen a6. So that's called the old variation. So actually a defense for black here. A defense for black here. Yeah, black actually has a defense. He can play knight to f3, or like knight to c6, knight to f6, or knight to c6, just developing. And also, white here can choose to play e5, controlling the center. Now, the only downside is after b4, a5, and b4 and a5, black can safely play c6 because this doesn't work anymore because the e5 pawn blocks in the queen. But this controls the center very well, and white should go on to win. Also, the two choices white also has here is knight c3 here is knight c3 or knight f6, just going on with rapid development. Now black here has a defense. He has a couple of defenses. The one I would suggest is c6. This is called the Slav defense. Backing the center pawn with a flank pawn so that after takes and takes, the position is equal. So this is a good move, and after knight f6, a common move, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3 is another popular move, and e6 is a popular move. This is called the semi-Slav defense. Just really protecting this d5 pawn from any kind of attack. Also, what black can do here is just e6, just backing up this pawn. Also, there's this is called the Marshall defense. It just protects this, and after knight c3, black here normally plays g7. This is called the Greenfield defense, fianchettoing the bishop. Also, a move you would I wouldn't really play it, but this move is just dubious. Like, it's not really a good move because white here can take, and if black takes back, then queen takes queen, and black loses the ability to castle. So, also a dubious move is knight c6. It's called the Chagorian defense. Kind of developing a piece. And also this is called the Baltic defense. Now, I wouldn't really suggest that's called the Austrian variation, Chagorian and Baltic defense. I wouldn't suggest those. So, that's the Queen's Gambit. Another way of continuing is knight f3, the Zukertort variation, and black here can play knight f6. And this is called the London system. It's a very good opening. I use it a lot in my games, and I've had some success with this opening. Also, you could play bishop f6, bishop f4, and after knight f6 and knight f3, this is the London system again. And also, not a great move, knight c3. You usually want to move your c pawn in queen pawn openings. So that's the main variations of d4 and d4, d5. Another common response is knight f3. This is called the Indian game. This is kind of like the French defense. Black allows white to gain the center, but later on tries to weaken it. So white here has a couple of choices. You can play knight f3, developing a piece, the knight's variation. Also, you can play knight c3, but not suggested. The most common move is c4, just controlling the d5 center square. And black here has a couple of choices. He can play g7, which is the King's Indian defense, preparing to fianchetto. e6, this is called the East Indian defense, and if white plays knight c3, this is bishop b4 is pinning the knight, and this is called the Nimzo Indian defense. And if white here plays knight to f3, then this check is called the Bogo Indian defense. And that's the East Indian defense. Another, actually after this, black here can play b6. This is called the Queen's Indian defense, fianchettoing the queen bishop. So that's the East Indian defense. Black here can play d5, transposing into the Marshall defense. Also, a good move is c5, the Benoni defense. This is kind of like a reverse Queen's gambit, and you shouldn't take it because it's doubling your pawns, and black can easily get your c5 pawn. Your pawn on c5. Also, d6 is playable, but not suggested too much. And that's the Indian defense. So now there's a lot of defenses, like the modern defense, fianchettoing the bishop, just like the Indian defense, giving white a center, but preparing to break the center, break white's center, and black here can also play knight c6. This is another kind of like Indian game styled, but this is a little annoying. This is called the English defense, which is just b6, preparing to fianchetto this queenside bishop. And also, this is called the Old Benoni defense. This is like a Benoni defense, but like earlier on, but like kind of like a early Benoni defense. And also, this is playable. This is called the Caro-Kann defense, kind of like the French defense, but it's not too good because e5. This is the advanced variation, and both your knights lose their happy squares. So also playable is d6. This is called the Perk defense. After here, black plays knight f6 and knight c3. And also the what was it called again? Horwitz defense, and c4 is the Horwitz defense, and e4 turns into the French defense. There aren't a lot of queen's pawn opening variations. So, and the final variation I'm going to talk about is e5, the England gambit. This is kind of a dubious move. It sacrifices a pawn, but unlike the Queen's Gambit, it's kind of sacrifices a pawn for nothing, but there's tactics. After takes, knight c3 and knight c6, knight f3, and queen e7 attacking the pawn. Now bishop f4 and queen b4 check. And if this is a blunder because taking the bishop. Also this is a blunder. Takes or taking this pawn. And this is not a good move also because it looks like the rook is going to trap, and there's only one defense is a queen c3, but this is a blunder, pinning the queen to the king. So there's some tactics, and the only way to safely the only safe way to defend this move is bishop d2, backing up the bishop. And after takes, knight to c3, bishop b4, and rook to b1. Now, sometimes I see queen takes c3. That's okay, I guess, just sacrificing the queen. And after takes and takes, check, blocks and takes. This is usually played by Amon Hambleton. He says it's his undefeated opening. Okay, so that's the queen's pawn opening. There's not a lot of variations. Not as much in the king's pawn variation, because the king's pawn opening, because it's more common than the queen's pawn opening. But the queen's pawn opening is also a very common first move with d4, controlling these two squares. I'll see you next time with more chess openings. Bye!